Let's get to NewsNation border correspondent Ali Bradley first. On the ground live from the southern border in the Del Rio, Texas sector. Ali, new information just into our newsroom a short time ago. A second batch of troops arriving at Fort Bliss in Texas for a, quote, border mission. What details can you tell us about this right now?
Yeah, hi, good evening, Natasha. So we know that President Trump ordered at least 1,500 active duty troops down to the southern border. Now, we need to let Americans understand, our viewers understand, that this is not the first time troops have been at the border. In fact, they've been at the border since 2018, when President Trump actually declared a state of emergency then and deployed about 4,000 troops under Operation Guardian Support. So this is an ongoing effort. Now, it's worth noting that the Biden administration decreased that. They did keep DOD, Department of Defense soldiers down here, though, to the tune of about 2,500. So these troops are going to be supplementing the men and women that are already down here, that have already been on a border security mission. And it's really important to kind of distinguish what they're able to do. So the capacity that these troops are going to be down here in, they don't have immigration authority. They're not going to be apprehending migrants. They're there as a deterrent. They're there in their camouflage. They're going to have pepper ball launchers, most likely, and things like that. But again, acting as a deterrent. And they're also going to be used, according to Representative Tony Gonzalez, in more of a kind of ministerial role, so that the, quote, boots and badges can kind of be freed up to do these kind of enforcement operations, Natasha. So that's what we expect to see when it comes to these troops being deployed down here. Now, we don't know what the final total number is going to be or how many actually touched down today, but we do anticipate those numbers to continue and those kind of flights of those military troops down to the southern border to continue. Now, we did get new information on crossings, on the numbers that we've been seeing, Natasha. And my gosh, I actually had to ask my sources if I was seeing incorrect numbers, because they are so staggering based on what we've been experiencing over the last 4 years. So earlier this week, we saw about 815 crossing a single day. Guess what yesterday was? 665 Border Patrol encounters across 9 sectors. That's thousands of miles in a 24-hour period. That is a drop in the bucket compared to what we saw under the Biden administration at its peak. 12,000 people in a day. Now, you'll remember under former President Obama, his DHS Secretary Jay Johnson said 1,000 people at the border is a crisis. So now we're seeing 665. We're hovering well under 1,000 since President Trump stepped back into office, Natasha. So we are seeing those efforts already. Kind of what my sources are telling me is, welcome to the Trump effect, Natasha. He said he was going to end illegal entries. We're seeing hardly anyone cross at the ports, and we're seeing very minimal numbers when it comes to illegal entries with Border Patrol.
Yeah, the decrease in those numbers, absolutely staggering. And meanwhile, Ali, I know that military flights are deporting undocumented migrants. Where are these flights leaving from? Where are they going? How many are returning home at this time?
Yeah, so it was really interesting because Representative Tony Gonzalez is down in El Paso today, and he was talking about El Paso is going to be ground zero for these deportation flights. We know that flights went out of Fort Bliss. We also know they went out of Tucson, Arizona. Now, we know here at NewsNation of as many as 3 flights that went out to Guatemala. So we looked at nearly 270 deportees that Guatemala accepted back yesterday. So that's what we're looking at with that. And when you have to consider these deportation flights, I need to be clear here. Deportation flights have been going on under Biden as well. This is not just a Trump effort, you guys. Deportations have happened. The Northern Triangle countries, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, they've always played well with the United States, so they have taken back these deportation flights. The ones we have to worry about and the ones that are going to be problematic, China, Venezuela, Middle Eastern countries, things like that don't have good diplomatic relations. Venezuela has not taken a flight back from the United States since February of last year. So they're talking about ways to kind of work with Mexico. Mexico has a better working relationship with Venezuela. So will Sheinbaum take back those people and work with Maduro? We don't know yet. They are taking some people back. They're obviously taking Mexican nationals, but they are taking some people not from Mexico to help repatriate them as well, Natasha. But those are some issues we're going to deal with. But it is worth noting deportation flights did not just start under Trump. They are an ongoing effort under DHS. Natasha.
Yeah, Ali, has there been any resistance from any countries that you've been monitoring who do not want to take these flights back of these individuals being deported?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, you've got Venezuela that has not accepted a flight back since February. Now, when I talked with Vice President J.D. Vance about this down here at the border, so what are you going to do? I mean, they haven't accepted flights back, right? We have no vetting information. We have no criminal history from these countries. They're not playing in our sandbox, for lack of a better phrase there. And so when it comes to it, J.D. Vance says, they're going to take them back. And even President Trump said, we're confident they're going to take them back because they're going to use tariffs. They're going to use economic sanctions and things like that. J.D. Vance literally said they're going to attack the economies of these countries that will not allow the United States to enforce the law. So that's what we can expect there. Of course, you know, President Trump is working on those diplomatic relations with China as well. So we can expect to see more of those flights return to that country as well, Natasha.
And Ali, I want to talk about the raids because, of course, we've been monitoring the ICE raids sweeping the country. We see border czar Tom Homan, who you've spoken with before as well, telling NewsNation that these were underway. Give us details on the latest raids. What are you monitoring here?
Yeah, so again, you know I'm going to be honest about everything and call a spade a spade. These ICE raids, if you want to call them that, they have been going on for a long time too. They're done by a fugitive operations task force, if you will. It's actually a detail that ICE officers sign up for. It's a 2-year detail, and they actually do this task force, and they have targeted criminals that they go after each and every day. I've looked at the charts. It's like a roller coaster. Earlier on in January, they arrested around 400 criminal illegal immigrants. So again, this is an ongoing effort. Now, we are seeing the numbers increase a little bit. You're looking at the screen right now of how many criminal illegal immigrants they've actually already arrested. 10 Tren de Aragua members. That's coming from that very violent Venezuelan gang that President Trump has vowed to target under Operation Aurora. We've seen them tied to several heinous crimes in the United States, including the murder of 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungary in Houston and also 22-year-old Georgia nursing student Laken Riley. Both of their deaths had ties to Tren de Aragua as well. So President Trump zeroing in on that gang, that violent gang. But again, Natasha, the kind of nuance there is they're Venezuelan. So how do you get them out? How do you remove them? And what else is interesting here, I'm looking at the numbers from yesterday. We didn't see hardly any Venezuelans cross the southern border. So that messaging must be getting back to that country as well, Natasha.
Going to be speaking with Jocelyn's mother live here on Prime in just a moment. I do want to ask you, you monitor the border every single day. What is the border like on the ground this evening? What are you seeing? Is it a stark difference from where you're standing?
If I can try to paint a picture for you here, the biggest difference is the energy, right? So it's the energy and the morale from the agents and the men and women boots on the ground down here. But you can hear a pin drop out here, Natasha. It is so desolate. When you talk about 665 people crossing the border illegally, that's, again, thousands of miles, 24-hour period across 9 sectors. Where are they? They're not here. They're not crossing the border and walking up and self-surrendering to Border Patrol agents at the level that we were seeing. And I want to show you right here. Daniel, can you show kind of this wall situation? So this is one of the biggest issues that the southern border. This is politics in a picture, you guys. So you have the wall here that was ended. The Trump administration, Biden ended the construction of that wall. So you can see that black iron fence that was actually constructed under the Bush administration. And then you can see the chicken wire. That is what was put up as kind of the fail-safe to bridge that gap, if you will. So some major issues there. The sheriff here, Natasha, he's actually a Democrat, believe it or not. There's only 2 Republican sheriffs along the southern border here in Texas. And the sheriff here says, just fix my fence. It's good for the community. It's good for the nation. This isn't about politics. This is about my community. So that is what's happening down here on the ground. But the reality is, agents are able to go do their job again. There won't be a story at the border anymore unless there's a terrorist apprehended or a huge surge, Natasha, because agents doing their job is not a news story. The fact that they were not able to do their job is why we've been down here.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.